Queen Sycorax's Chamber of Magic Removal. The Chamber of Magic Removal had a very high ceiling and it was perfectly round. The only thing in it was a stone. The stone was a dark grey. It was just an ordinary but unbelievably large stone, rough around the edges like solidified lava. "Is that the stone that takes away magic?" asked Zara in disbelief, for there didn't seem anything particularly scary about it. But the sprites and the animals were more sensitive to the strange atmosphere in the room, and they hissed like hornets in their anxiety. And the snowcats restlessly padded around the circular room, their hair all on end. Zara reached into his breast pocket and took out squeeze shoes, rigid as a dark green jewel, his breath like tiny green icicles rattling stiffly in his paralysed body. His light was dying and barely there, growing fainter and fainter like his breathing, poor squeeze shoes. "Now you have to put him on the stone," said Wish. "You should not do this, Zara," hissed Ariel, holding up his skinny arms and spitting out a warning. "You have to listen to the stories of the fairies, stories from our ancient past. The fairy tales have wisdom in them." Mustard thought, finished Ariel's sentence, and all the fairy tales say, "Do not touch the stone." "My father's father told me in a story never to touch this stone, Zara," said Tip and Storm, and the other sprites echoed, "And mine, and mine, and mine." And the walls of the chamber echoed back. The words might have been the words of these sprites, or they could have been the ghost words of sprites who had been here once and faced the same choices in the past. "And mine, and mine, and mine." "The sprites are right," said Caliban nervously. "You do have to listen to the stories, for stories always mean something. The question that worries me is, what exactly do they mean?" Now they were there in front of the stone, confronted with the reality of actually touching it. Zara found he was terribly torn about what to do next. The voice of the once sprite was singing bright and pure as a nightingale somewhere in the darkness above them, of his regret at the loss of his magic, of how his wings that used to brush the very stars on a windy winter's night were now paralysed, and the yearning ache of that song reminded them all exactly how big a decision this was. Zara always knew what to do, but for once in his life he wasn't quite sure. "What shall I do?" said Zara in an agony of indecision. Maybe Squeeze would actually prefer to go to the dark side rather than give up his magic entirely. Perhaps he thinks it would be better to die if it will mean he cannot fly. "This is our only chance to save Squeeze's life," said Wish. "Why don't you put him on the stone for just a second or two to take away the witch bag magic, but take him off very quickly again to leave him just enough magic to fly with?" "Might that work?" Zara asked Caliban. "Well, I can't guarantee it," said Caliban. "I've never come across witch blood before. But we have to be hopeful," said Wish. "We can't just let him die. We have to hope this will work and we can make something good happen, even in this dark place." "Help me," said Zara to Wish. "I can't do it on my own." The fire sprites and the hairy fairies formed a glowing halo above Zara and Wish's head, alarmed and suspicious, and spitting out words of protection like, my glasses on, please, like Ariel and difficult words to say, and the spiky glowing letters quivered with fear and anxiety as they hovered in the air before melting away. Zara and Wish took deep breaths and knelt by the stone, gently holding up Squeeze Juice, tipping him so that only the witch stain on his chest touched the surface of the rock. Zara turned his face away, and then nothing happened. The poor little hairy fairy jerked a little more still. "Do you think it's too late?" whispered Zara. But Squeeze Juice's light had gone out entirely, and for 1 second he was like a stiff little piece of ivy lying there against the stone. And then, just when Zara had thought he had lost him, a very faint twinkling of light flickered from Squeeze Juice's chest and grew brighter and brighter. The green slowly faded from the little sprite's legs, from his arms, and finally from his chest, so that with a sudden whoosh, he took in air and his eyes opened, and feebly he beat his wings. "He's alive!" breathed Wish in passionate relief as Squeeze Juice buzzed gently into life. "Quick, take him off the stone," said Zara. Wish and Zara peeled Squeeze Juice off again gently but firmly, and the little fairy Harry sat in Zara's palm, blinking, but dazed as if waking from a coma. "He's alive!" cried Zara, punching the air as the little sprite breathed very quietly and whispered, "Ice alive! Ice alive! Ice alive!" "He's alive!" smiled Zara. "Do you think he can still fly?" "It's a little early to tell, Zara," the Caliban. "He's going to need some time to recover." "Oh, thank goodness." Fairies are not like humans. The wild ones are so dangerous they would have died out years ago if they did not recover quickly from illness. Bravely Squeeze Juice raised his head unfurled his shaking wings and I'll have to find out what they